Creativity for me really means limitless thinking. We recognize that everything is a social structure.
One of the projects that won a really big prize, tampon book, which was literally a book where tampons were hidden in the back.
Always requires three skills or three pillars: passion, attitude, and skill. Those three are the ones a professional player needs.
Trust yourself, trust the process. Life's not a race. I mean, it's such a cliche, but it's so true.
Being in the creative sector, it's really important that we know that we have a responsibility in terms of what we put out into the world. Playfulness that kids have, I feel like we should take that as adults as well, because it will really help in the creative process.
So welcome everybody to this special podcast series called Tech Meets Curacao, powered by Ngrane in collaboration with 𝐶𝐞𝐿, Curacao Investment and Export Promotion Agency. This series is recording during the next web conference week, and its purpose or its goal is to bring inspired voices from Curacao or with roots in Curacao to talk about AI, creativity, leadership, innovation, and the future of tech. Today, I have a few wonderful guests. So here I have Jeff Macolonie.
Yes.
And I have Maxime de Jonge and Lauren Spencer. In a minute, I'll ask them to introduce themselves. So enjoy this episode. Jeff, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Jeff Macolonie. I'm the founder and CEO of 𝐭𝐸₀. We're an esports organization, and we also have 𝐭𝐸₀ Studios, which is a 360 marketing agency in the Caribbean, but also Latin America.
Thank you. Maxime?
I'm Maxime de Jonge. I'm a cultural anthropologist, development sociologist. I grew up in Curacao in two different parts, so it's like a sandwich of my youth. Now I work as a communication strategist.
Thank you. Lauren?
Hi, I'm Lauren Spencer. I'm a creative director at �ㄘ, which is part of TBWA Naboco in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. I've been working there now for almost 6.5 years. I was born and raised in Curacao, and I moved here to pursue art academy and then a master's in film and photography curating. So that's a bit about me.
Thank you all for being here. So let's start with the first question. I'll start with you, Jeff. Yes. What does creativity mean to you?
I actually was looking at the question when you guys sent it over to me. Like, it's a very interesting question because as creative as I am, I don't know how to answer it. But I think it's pretty much, for me, solving a specific problem in a fun way.
Oh,
Yeah. You know, bringing some more different ways to problem solving, unique, different, creative ways. I work in the entertainment industry, so it's, you know, quite different in every single one that you form part of, but that's kind of how I see it. Always have fun involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Maxime?
Creativity for me really means limitless thinking, and then I don't mean outside the box, because in anthropology or sociology we recognize that everything is a social structure, and I think creativity lays in emphasizing where there's no structure. So the little details or the big ideas, that's where I really think it's creativity.
I like that part where you says without structure. So basically it has free-flowing possibilities. Interesting. Thank you. Lauren?
I think mine is also a little bit, I wouldn't want to call it problem solving for me personally, because it maybe gives a bit of a limit, but I like it when people find something that is happening in culture, or for example, in the comment section under a specific brand, where they can tap into and maybe evoke a certain emotion with that. So if I could give a little example, one of the projects that won a really big prize a few years ago was a project in which they found out that the tax for tampons was really high in Germany. I think the tax on tampons was higher than, I think I'm saying it right, than on books. So they basically decided to make a tampon book, which was literally a book where tampons were hidden in the back. Wow. And it was all about periods and things like that. So I hope I'm saying it exactly the right way, but just that little insight, it evokes emotion. It taps into something that is playing around in culture. And it also makes a change. So in a way, also problem solving a little bit. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a very creative way to solve that problem for sure. And of course, so we all have roots in Curacao. How did the part of having some upbringing on Curacao help with being a creative person or influence your creative work? I'll ask you again. You're sitting next to me.
No, don't worry. I mean, for sure, culture. I mean, Curacao has, you know, the whole different types of cultures from different parts of the world. I mean, we have our own personal culture as well, but living there and being able to have a taste of so many different types of nationalities, I think that's like one of the strong points. I mean, if you look and compare it to other countries as well, the people you grow up with and you know, when you go to school and the way you get taught all of the history and all the different cultures and all of those things, it definitely gives that since young instilled into you. So I think that played a really big difference for me personally.
Nice. For you, Maxime?
I grew up in Curacao, but also in Switzerland and the Netherlands. But I would say Curacao really is my home. But as I grew up in different countries, I get to experience different belief systems, and not religion-wise, but really culture. Like, how do you perceive the world? How the way you look at it? What's important for you? And I think that triggered creativity in me because I really like to understand something that's different from me, the way how I look at the world. So, like you, the different cultures, understanding them. But also, when I come to Curacao, everything is different there. My senses are heightened. I don't know if you guys have that too, but the smell is different, the sun on your face, the wind, you hear the palm trees. And yeah, it's just heightened, and that's what I really try to bring back here in the Netherlands when it's mostly raining. Try to come back and feel everything that surrounds you. That's creativity.
I live in Bogota right now.
Oh.
So in Colombia, and it's very cold. So every time I'm at my peak and I'm like, no, I really need some sun, I go back to Curacao. And it's true, as you say, when you go there and you have the accessibility again to the beach and to the sun, and the creative flow comes back to you and you feel completely relaxed. You know, when you're in the city, I can imagine you're in the Netherlands as well. Things sometimes are so busy and crazy that you don't really have the time to connect with yourself and and get back in your creative zone. So yeah, no, I really understand.
For you, Lauren?
I think a lot of things that you mentioned, one of the words that was in my mind is that it's magical being there, right? Growing up there has a sense of magic, almost a bit spiritual in a way. The sand, the nature, the water, I think that really develops you as a child. I mean, I knew my friends in the Netherlands, they would, you know, be inside playing video games, and we would be outside, playing outside. And playing is something that's so important no matter which age you are. And I think that really helps you sort of develop your creativity. And another point that I would like to tap in as well is that I think being in the creative sector, it's really important that we know that we have a responsibility in terms of what we put out into the world. And in Curacao, you grow up with so many different cultures that you really understand. For instance, when you make an advertisement, it's really important that you take into consideration all the different cultures that you're talking to and who you're talking to and about.
Yeah.
So that if we are doing something, for example, about Curacao, that there is a person from Curacao, grown up from Curacao, that is there. So I think that's a very important part. And I have that a bit from living there till I was 18, but I think that's something we also need to educate other people on as well, or at least give them a little bit of information about. So, yeah.
The small things that make a difference.
Yeah,
a difference.
very much.
When you do, for example, a commercial video for some specific brand, and then you, like, let's say, for example, you have a small glacial just subtly hitting in the background, and 𝐂𝐈𝐍𝐿 sees it, they will instantly feel at home, you know?
Yes.
So it's like the extremely small details that play a huge role in creativity, for sure. It invokes, like she mentioned, the emotions.
Yeah.
So.
And you just mentioned the part of play. Can you go a little bit more in depth in what play, what kind of role play plays in creativity?
I think that what happens a bit is, in a sense, we can all be creative, right? And we all, in this case, we are all sort of in a creative world where we have creative jobs. But obviously, sometimes time takes the best of you, or you get kind of stuck in this rut where you start going into the cycle of what the client wants or what you want or what you think is good. But that moment of play, taking the moment out to go play or to go outside or to actually maybe play with something. And I think you said something about not having structure. that can really help you to get out of that rut or to get out of that, for instance, creative block. Nevertheless, I think, for example, children, they ask questions about everything, literally. And we find it annoying, but those questions can actually lead to really interesting answers. Yeah, why is the moon white? Why is the sun, you know, why? And it challenges you to think in a different way. So that playfulness that kids have, I feel like we should take that as adults as well, because it will really help in the creative process. Yeah.
Anybody needs to add something regarding that? Is there an example of play that you use to tap into your creative vibe? Of course, you create games, so then that means you're playing the whole time.
We play the games,
Yeah.
so we play the games professionally in what I do. But as I mentioned, we also have a marketing agency, so my team actually develops these concepts, you know, and presents it to clients and stuff. But I have this thing that's completely different. I like to work at night, when everyone is not awake, when I don't get text messages, when my team doesn't message me for specific things. I just like to be up at that specific moment, let's say at 12:30 in the morning, and that's when my creative flow. I put some music on, you know. I usually like to smoke hookah. I don't know if you guys know what that is, shisha, and it relaxes me completely, and then I start working. So there's various ways, I mean, when people can tap into their creativity, and that's kind of how I do it. So yeah.
Me, it's really traveling. I think that's my adult play. Just I go to a country where there's no structure, or at least a structure that I don't know, and then just explore. That really helps my imagination. I also try, I have my own agency together with a co-founder of 𝐿𝐢𝐭𝐡, and where it says in the name human tales, so I'm always looking for human stories. And sometimes I run out of, they're always human stories, but I run out of the view to actually see them. So that helps me to escape, go play again, get new sensory, and then I come back and either I have new stories or I can see new stories. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
No, super.
And when was for you the first time or indication that you can remember that you recognized, I'm a creative person? Do you have an idea of when that happened? I see you smiling. Do you know of an instance?
You're putting me on the spot.
No, it's your turn now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say such a cliche thing, but literally the moment I could talk or make really certain movements. My grandmother is actually an artist, she is an artist actually. And I think just from a young age, as cliche as it sounds, I would just always be finding creativity, drawing, painting, making skits in my room, the way that children do or teenagers do TikToks now. We had Windows Movie Maker, and I would just, we have friends come over and make videos and things like that. And just also at teenage years, also with art programs around Curacao, would do a lot. So I think it just something that's in me.
Young.
I don't know what else I would do. I really love being creative. So yeah.
And for you?
When did I notice it? I always go back to, because for me, my creativity comes more from problem solving. I keep mentioning it. My creativity spikes also when I'm under pressure. It's completely different. Because as I mentioned, I mean, of course, you, for example, you're a creative director, which is super cool because you work then a lot with cinematography, I assume, photography, etc. For me, it's more my daily job, finding creative ways to develop business, develop new products, putting things together, puzzling things together, I love having problems. It sounds weird, but my whole life has been a problem to solve. So that's kind of how I've realized since I was a kid as well, that for the stupidest things, I always just find creative ways to solve my problems easier, quicker, more efficient. So it also comes from the childhood part, and then I just developed completely into becoming an entrepreneur today.
And so you say you like having problems to solve.
Yeah.
Which one or which problem did you know? Okay, I had to take a big risk in order to get this done. that you can remember that it actually paid off? Do you remember one of those
Yes.
situations?
So I never liked school. And I thought it was a way too slow of a process for me. I think everyone is different, of course. So when I was in 𝐷𝐆𝐵O in Curacao, I was playing a lot of video games. And of course, everyone has their opinion of it. You can do it a productive way, or you can do it a very casual way. But then if you do too casual but too much, it's still a waste of time. So when I was playing professionally, when I was younger, I went to 𝐷𝐆𝐵O afterwards, and I studied IT because I liked being on the computer and playing video games. And at one point, an organization from Mexico just called me and told me they will have a contract for me to play professionally. So that's when I decided to just completely stop school and go and play professionally. But when I came back, I didn't want to continue playing because it was too boring. And again, I'm someone that's like, I always want to be moving, right? So that was when my first big problem came. Okay, what now? I didn't continue studying. I don't have my degree.
Right.
How am I going to do something with my living? So then I just made my own team. And that brought me problems every single day, obstacles to cross every single day, challenges to face every single day. And slowly everything just started puzzling in. I started doing a lot of courses. I had a lot of mentors. One is sitting here right now as well, Bennett, which led me to where I am today, where now I have a company in the Caribbean, in Colombia, and Mexico. We've been all over the world, Singapore, Brazil. We have championships.
Nice.
Yeah. But again, as I mentioned, each part of that process was a problem. And they always say, if you don't have a problem, that's your biggest problem. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so for the people watching this, and especially back in Curacao or the people here, what kind of advice would you give them in order to get into this field? And what type of mindset do they need to have in order to have success in this field? May I ask you?
Yeah, I would say no fear, but I know that's a very difficult one because everyone has fear, and I still fear today. So I would say try to let go, be authentic. I think that's the most important one. Don't be afraid to just try something. I think everyone is just trying something. So if you're authentic, that you might stand out. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you, Lauren, what kind of advice would you have somebody trying to get into your type of work?
Yeah, so if you're trying to get into an advertising agency, it's quite interesting now because as a creative director now I have to see who wants to apply for the jobs with us. So I often have these conversations quite a lot, but also with, within my role, basically all the work that is being done has to go through me, or I have to oversee like all the creatives that are there. And one of the things that I have noticed is, and it's gonna sound, I think, passion is really important. Just to not beat around the bush, it's very much passion. I do understand that sometimes you haven't figured out what you want yet, but even in that, having the passion in that, right? Yeah. In if you're going to take a choice, take it and make the best out of it. And don't necessarily I'm maybe not the biggest fan of complete hierarchy, but do listen to the people that have something to teach you, right? Really, really take that in. If someone offers you help, take that help. Do something with that. I think it's really funny because I listen a lot to Tyler, the Creator, and he recently put out this song where he says, don't let the light is not on you, it's in you, and don't let anyone dim that light.
Right.
So even that sometimes happens, it dims, but keep on going, you know, and make use of the people that want to help you and that are there. Sometimes it's scary, but actually a lot of people are very open to help. I even help people sometimes who don't work at our company with just advice on how to get into an advertising agency and to figure out what maybe they want to do. So I think that's a bit my advice for that. And make sure you're prepared. Have a, you know, yeah.
See, no, I fully agree with both your statements. I think that passion is indeed key, right? Because without passion, you're just doing something you don't like. Passion became my career. I always loved playing video games and everything that had to do around it. And for sure, people always say, yeah, the status quo, the way society, and everyone wants to go one simple direction. I always say, screw that. Go your direction. Go with what your heart wants. Of course, you have to follow. Let's say it's not free for all either. You know what I mean? Just be open to taking risks and be open to failing. Failing is great, man, because you keep learning.
Right.
And eventually we'll get there. You'll find what you like to do. You have to try things, find out what you like, what you don't like. And then slowly that will mold you into what you are meant to be destined in this world. So life is too short to just not be moving. So
Interesting.
Life's too short to get there too soon. That'd be so
100%,
boring,
yeah.
right?
Indeed.
And failing is I really like that you said failing.
Mhm.
Super important.
I used to be someone in the comfort zone, but now I like the uncomfort zone. I really like it. I look for it now every single time. So and that's what builds you.
True.
Yeah.
So talking about failing and not being afraid of failing, what would be one of the biggest failures that you, looking back, always in the moment it's difficult, but looking back, has taught you a very important lesson that you said you learned from your failures. What is one that you can remember that you say, okay, and this was the lesson? Do you guys have one in mind?
It's not really practical, it's more personal, I think. It's
Mhm.
really, again, not trusting myself. Like, thinking I'm not able to do this. That really let me down, because then I got insecure, people notice it. And then it's just what you say, passion, just fear, passion, everything comes together, and it's just... Once I let that go, then I feel I have more passion, I'm not afraid, I feel like I can reach my path, and that really helped me every time. And then if something happens and it doesn't work out, then it feels like, okay, it wasn't for me then next time. It doesn't feel like big of a disappointment.
So having that personal failure and it affecting your confidence, that's when you realize, oh, wait a second, if I keep going in this direction, it dims my light, what you just said, it dims your light, and then basically you don't perform like you would want to. And that was the lesson that you took out of it. Like, okay, step back from there, and then keep that passion alive, and just failure is just part of it, and we'll keep going.
Exactly.
Okay.
Surround yourself with people that support you.
Yeah, nice. And do you have one by any chance?
Yeah, I mean, so many times, right? I mean, but often for me the failing was not in what I did, but what I did not do. So, for instance, and I think it is a bit similar to what you were saying, where you can get very insecure about something. So we had a very long project on the art academy, which ended up being good, which is also the self-doubt that you then have, but where you sort of become stuck, or almost like, if I can use the word, paralyzed a bit in that sense, or into paralysis of just the mind, right? Because you're constantly doubting, is it going to be good? Is it going to be good? Instead of trying things out to see if it will work. I think that's something I learned from. I always, even if I think something is not going to work, I try it out on a smaller scale to see, hey, okay, now I know for sure.
Right.
I think it's mostly in what you don't do. You know, it's for me at least, and I see it quite a lot also in other creatives as well.
So if I understand it correctly, what you're saying is the part of not taking the action, not basically, if you have an idea, if you have a feeling, not following it, regardless of what the outcome could be, because you don't know the outcome unless you take that step.
And obviously, it's a little bit different when you're in a business and there's money involved and you have to take a bit of calculated choices. But that's what I meant with maybe doing it on a smaller scale. At least try out something, maybe in the first presentation. But especially when you're still when you're not yet at a company, but you're developing yourself. And for instance, in that world, that's super important, because a lot of people say, oh, I could have done this, but I never did it. And then someone else did it, you know? And that can feel a bit like a failure sometimes, even though it's not. You still have many chances.
Right. And isn't that a little bit the role of the creative people, in order to basically what others don't risk, others don't try, that basically as a person that feels the urge to express their creativity, to basically try that part, try that step, try that idea in order to see what blossoms out of it, right? Is that a little bit also, if I can say, the responsibility of the creative person to basically check out the boundaries of what we feel comfortable for doing and not doing?
You can't innovate without being creative.
Right.
So I think innovators are the most creative people, you know?
It's funny you say that, because in a few podcasts before, which was the topic was innovation, they gave the exact same answer to what you said when we said, what is creativity to you?
Yeah.
The exact same answer was. So when you're saying it, it brings back to the same
the same
concept.
podcast you already have. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
No,
great.
see, I mean, I feel like we're making this a motivational podcast.
It definitely can be. It definitely can be.
One of my big, I mean, again, failures happen very frequently, right? So my business is different types of things happening. One of my favorite parts is what I like to do, which is professional video gaming, right? So let's say we allocate a budget every year to a specific team, to a specific game, and then you have to look for the right players and the right coaching staff, etc. And then let's say you invest a lot of capital into it, and it just completely goes wrong, right? And I've had quite of those happening in the early days, right? And now we find out finally what the formula is, and we're only winning. We're only winning, because in the past you would only think about, oh, these players have a good background and they have a lot of championships in their pockets, but you forget about passion, communication, culture, because we played, for example, with guys from Seoul. You know, they came from South Korea to Colombia to be the players in the gaming house. And you have then Europeans, Latin America, and you have to have a specific coach. You know, that was the key, finding the right coaching staff to help them be able to synergize with each other. So you constantly start figuring out, okay, what is the right, how do you say that? The right ingredients for success, you know? And I learned a lot from that. Constantly trying to, you know, find different ways, different types of approaches for every single problem that you have, every single failure that you have, to try it again, as you were mentioning it. And eventually making it happen.
So interesting, because of course your profession is not one that is widely, I say, known or joined by many people. If you have an advice for the people in Curacao, or even the young people here in Holland, what type of resources are there, or what type of steps can they take in order to join a profession as yours?
Well, there's many careers. I mean, like as a professional player.
Yes.
We actually just recently launched an esports league on the island, together with Visa and Banco de Caribe, which is completely focused on the community. I traveled to Latin America to actually learn before coming back on the island and give back, invest back in the community. And a week ago, we launched it. Actually, we're doing the demo at the NW at the booth with 𝐶NEX, with all of the other partners involved. So that's going to be great. But the platform is built to develop talent and give opportunities to the community. So I think at the end of the day, as we all keep growing in all of our different professions, teaching, as you were mentioned, giving time from you as you grew, people helped you. Now it's time to also give back to others. And that's what we're doing as well in the ICS, the Island Championship Series. So it always requires 3 skills, I always say, or 3 pillars: is passion, attitude, and skill. Those are 3 are the ones a professional player needs. So you have those, and you want to compete in the league, remember to sign up. Quick shout out. But we're definitely always eyes open. And if you feel like you want to be able to do it, always focus on school first. I always say that. Have your plan B always. But if you get the opportunity to go professionally and they give you an offer that is like not mind changing, life changing for you, then take it.
Take it.
Yeah. That's my advice.
So of course, in this whole week is regarding the next web conference. So one obvious question is, what type of role does AI play in all this, in your world, for personally, professionally, and what type of what do you see the future application will be in your field? Can I ask you?
I wanted to ask that. Sorry that I'm cutting you off completely. I want to ask you guys maybe a bit further than the AI. With your creativity, and now you have so many platforms that you can use. ChatGPT is the one that's most used, and everyone like challenges the AI every single time to help. And maybe there's a specific question for you as a creative director. How much AI do you use? Sorry to put you on the spot in the current industry that you work for, in daily life.
Well, obviously there's rules sounds a bit intense, but there are certain rules about how much AI you can use. Obviously, I mean, we're quite a big company that's all over the world, so there's very much importance about the responsibility that we have to take within that. I mean, obviously, you're a creative agency, so you can't go without. And I think, for example, so I look more at social and digital, but our whole company is also very well known for all their TV commercials, for instance, and bigger campaigns. And I think, for example, one of the things when you want to show a client a script, it's quite hard to, even with the script there, to really understand, where are you going? You have to envision it. And where, in that sense, for example, AI can play a really nice role in sort of even with pictures, making that script come to life a little bit. And then eventually you sit with a production company to really make it come to life. And you have the actual set and you go somewhere to film it. So I think in that sense, we actually recently had I don't know if you guys know the Eva Apeldoorn reclames. We made the newest one recently, which was really cool to work on that as well. We went to Bangkok to film that. Awesome. But there was, the idea is that a tourist goes there, but his bag gets stolen by a little tiny spider monkey. You cannot film with the actual spider monkey. That's not ethical. So quite some, actually some like editing and some actual special effects and stuff were used, but also AI can play a role within that.
Do you guys put a disclaimer in the video for that, or do the people have to assume that it's a real spider?
No, in a TV commercial it feels quite real. So but it's more ethically you cannot film in that way. Right. I think it's something you cannot not work with anymore, right? I think everyone in the creative sector is working some way with AI. There's definitely, I'm sure, people who work with certain prompts or try to find insights. For example, with strategy, you can really find a lot of insights with AI. But it's an ongoing process. I mean, I think we're moving at the same pace as everyone else, but we do have a sort of ethical responsibility within some points of where do we use it. And sometimes it's also nice. We have really good creatives, so AI is not always needed, but I think we use it in our benefit in a good way.
Yeah, brainstorming I use it for brainstorming a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but I never go with the full the
AI.
copy paste. Yeah. No, you always have to use it at least that's how I do it. The tool to also help me when I'm in that freeze, because usually that's why I have brainstorming sessions, because you have other people that you bounce ideas off of. Right. So when you don't have those people, you have AI. That's how I currently use it.
And for you, Maxime?
Well, I'm in the business of culture, but I think everyone now is in the business of culture. The only thing that I wouldn't say problem, but I feel a problem with is that culture is not something you can do. It's not something you can take. It's something you can participate in. It's something you give back. And if you're in that culture, you have the responsibility and you need to be respectful to stay there. So what I think with AI, what a risk factor is that people will look for insights, and not the way that you mentioned it, but will look, just Google it or Google GTP it.
Right.
And then you get some insights, but the problem is people don't understand what's written there. You need to feel it. You need to understand what people perceive with those words. I think you mentioned it before. Communication really is about perspective. And if you don't understand the perspective, then you're missing the clue. I mean, we can have one word where I have a different meaning for it than you and you. If we just put it in a prompt and something will come out, you're going to miss it. So I think that's a risk factor with AI. And I use the same as you and you as well, as just brainstorming.
Right.
But I'm really aware of what I put in. I'm really aware what I want to take out. Like, for the record, I'm not a copywriter. So sometimes I have this strategy and I love laying puzzles and I understand what the culture is and how to match it with the organization or the brand. But I'm not sure how to communicate to the client. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Then I use AI. Say, okay, I really want this idea and I want to, how do I put it on a slide?
Right, right.
That's what I use AI for.
I think it's nice what you said about that sort of responsibility and ethicalness as well, right? It's you don't remember when you had to write essays for school and then everyone would just go get sources, but they would know the sources, but they wouldn't know what they're talking about. And those were the essays that were the teacher would know right away. And I think maybe that's a bit similar to what you're saying. Like, yeah, okay, you put in a prompt, but do you actually understand what you're reading? Thanks for the information, but do you understand the information? So
I think we're so focused on the output nowadays because everything is optimized, everything is fast, which is great, but we forget what was the purpose? Why did we start it? Why did you ask the question in the first place? I think that's where the magic happens. That's where you need to understand what you're talking about, you need to understand the culture, and then you can grow, but slow down. Everyone's going too fast, too much on the output. You need to start at the beginning again.
Well,
I think.
Deep.
Yes. So this is a great way to segue to wrapping it up a little bit. Is there any last messages that you would like to give to the audience regarding creativity or regarding any other topic as we wrap up?
She can be the spot now. That's her turn.
Well, if you stay philosophical, I would really say again, be authentic, trust yourself, trust the process. Life's not a race. I mean, it's such a cliche, but it's so true. Just follow your own process. I think if you do that, your creativity will
blossom. Yeah. Thank you. Lauren?
Yeah, you don't always have to follow the route that everyone has to follow. I think you mentioned it before as well. But then once you've realized what you want to do, invest some time in that, figure out how to get there, and ask all the help around you, because that can get you very far. But stay authentic as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Jeff?
I mean, you said it all. Stay authentic.
Play
Be
games.
yourself. Play games. And believe in yourself. Just keep going for it. Fail, get back up. Fail, get back up. Fail, get back up. And eventually, you will get where you want to be. And it's never too late to start. It's never too early to start either. Just go for it and always open-minded. In this very chaotic world we live in.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being
you.
here.
Thank you.
So thank you for watching this episode. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and share this with a member if in your network that can benefit from this episode. And check out the next one. Thank you very much.